What's up, everyone? This is Lan the Man, here with the second episode of the Cheeseheadz weekly podcast. Before we start talking football, I'd just like to say there's a link in the description of every episode. If you click on that, you can send in a voice message, which I would very much like to see. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the show, what you want to see different, what you want me to discuss. I'm always open for discussion, for ideas, and it's great to be able to hear from you all, have more of a football discussion maybe, instead of just me gabbing about my takes on football and on the Packers. So, that would be great. And also, I will maybe have some questions you can always comment on, and putting out some polls, maybe on different NFL games or other things during the offseason at least. But it's a fun time right now in the playoffs. Just got through championship weekend. A lot of fun. Eagles, 49ers played at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and the Eagles, decisive win, dominated that game, 31-7, and they are advancing to the Super Bowl. 6:30, the evening game. Bengals, Chiefs, AFC title on the line. Lots of trash talk before the game. Bengals were 3-0 versus the Chiefs coming into this one, but Chiefs were able to eke out a win, 23-20. So let's just dive in to those games. My thoughts on those games. I was able to watch the Niners-Eagles game. I was excited for that game. Packers playing the NFC, so I'm watching the NFC, and right now I'm kind of rooting for the Eagles to go all the way. And so far, it's looking pretty good. They came to play in the playoffs, and a lot of bad luck for the Niners in that one. Brock Purdy got knocked out right at the beginning of the game in a fumble that the Eagles got. I believe that resulted in points for the Eagles. Hassan Reddick, he was all over the place, especially in the first half, which is pretty much the only time it really needed to be. They pretty much put the game away in the first half. They put the game away for good in the second half, but they played really great football in the first half, kept the pressure on, and cruised for the win. Hassan Reddick, big game for him. I forget. I think it might have been him as well who knocked out Johnson. I forget exactly who it was, if it was Hassan Reddick or not, but it was like the exact same hit. Fortunately for Johnson, it hit right on the elbow instead of the upper arm to just kind of pop the elbow back. I kind of feel for Purdy and the Niners. They were really frustrated with that, the way the game was going, just running out of quarterbacks like that. Johnson wasn't looking too bad. I feel like maybe Shanahan could have helped get things going for him, but then it just kind of was over before it began for Johnson, and did not work out for the Niners. At one point they were just doing random stuff, had Purdy out there, he couldn't throw, and he learned after the game that he had a complete tear in his elbow. It was UCL, so I don't think that would probably explain why he wasn't throwing very well at all. Why he couldn't throw, really. And they were putting Christian McCaffrey in at quarterback. The one play, they did a little bit of a razzle-dazzle and flipped the ball around a few times. McCaffrey ended up with it and kind of pump fake, stepped up, and then just launched it into no man's land. You look at the camera view, there was absolutely no one in the vicinity. You couldn't see anyone. Not sure what happened there, but it was a good effort, I guess, by McCaffrey. I mean, when you don't normally play quarterback, you don't know all the playbook that the quarterback will be using for all the routes, and I'm sure that was kind of interesting. Kind of a boring game overall, though. And there was some excitement towards the end. It was a very tense game. Fights were very close to breaking out. There was a little bit of a skirmish that knocked over Bosa at one point, and he was injured. Credit to him. He played really well as well. Was very disruptive, and they really held back the Eagles' passing attack with lots of pressure. And I think Hurts had a little bit of pain left in his elbow as well, or not his elbow, his shoulder. And he had, at one point, had A.J. Brown wide open, just kind of launched it over his head. But the Eagles showed they can win pretty much anyway, And with running the ball, a bunch of different running backs, Jalen Hurts was running the ball, at least more towards the end of the game, just hard-nosed, grinding out the yards, and they were able to get it done that way. So, credit to the Eagles. I think they are my prediction to win the Super Bowl ever since mid-season. But a little bit of excitement towards the end. Got into a little bit of fight, kind of one group. They're getting them separated. They run out, and then they form another group, and Trent Williams just decides he wants to head over and join the other group for some more excitement. He's frustrated. He's kind of known for that, if you ask me. He just gets in there and rips down Kayvon Wallace, pardon me. And they both got ejected. It was pretty intense there. It was, chucked him on the ground, body slammed the guy. Feel bad for Wallace, got ejected, and he was just kind of in there with the rest of them, and he got slammed, and then he got disqualified. Not like it mattered for the Eagles at that point, but hopefully they don't have any suspensions resulting from that going into the Super Bowl. Bengals-Chiefs game, I listened to the end of that. The big one was Joseph Osai with the unnecessary roughness penalty. I mean, it's hard to blame the guy. He's a young guy. Wanted to try to make a play, but you just can't do that right at the end of the game. It would have been a lot longer field goal, harder for the Chiefs to get it, and it could have been going into overtime had that not happened. But credit to Harrison Butker to knock that one through and put the Chiefs in. And so far, my prediction stands. I had Eagles-Chiefs getting in. I have the Eagles winning. And we'll see what happens with that one. So it should be pretty exciting. Pretty exciting Super Bowl. So we'll have to stay tuned. See what that looks like, but first we'll have to see what the Pro Bowl looks like for this year. Now let's get into some news. There's been a lot of rumors swirling around Rodgers, whether he's going to come back to the Packers or not, and he had some comments all the way back last Tuesday on the Pat McAfee show that I did not get on to talk about last show. I don't listen to the Pat McAfee show, so that's not a show I will listen to, but I do look at the news and try to get some things, because Rodgers says a lot on there. He had some comments. Ian Rappaport was on the show at one point, and he said if the Packers got the right package, I think they could do a deal for Rodgers. Rodgers talking, he says he understands a trade as a real possibility, says he wouldn't be offended by it, used words animosity, malice, has said he likes the Packers, nothing but love and appreciation for the organization. which is quite a bit different than what he was saying back in whatever year it was when he was rather upset with the Packers organization. But that's what you want to see. He does say, he said earlier he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. People have been hearing that. When he does understand if the Packers want to go to rebuild, go with the younger team. That's part of the team. He realizes the business side of it, which I would hope so. He's been in the league for a while now, so I would hope that he knows a few things about the business side of football. And Peter King was heard to be saying earlier that he thinks maybe the Packers will want maybe something like 2 first-round picks, and also said that the Jets could be desperate for a quarterback. They've never really had a good quarterback, since I don't know when. Maybe Joe Namath. I have no idea. I don't follow the Jets, but they have not been, Zach Wilson, All I can think about with the Zach Wilson is wobbly duck. That's just what he throws wobbly ducks. That's all I can think about. And I think of Zach Wilson because of the one throw he did that I happened to watch. Oh man, it's hilarious, and everyone's pretty much using Zach Wilson as a punching bag right now. Kind of feel bad for the guy, but I don't know. Rodgers said something about he thought that, I don't know if he was talking about the Hackett hiring, because Hackett is going to be the Jets' offensive coordinator for next season at least. And I'm not sure if he was talking about that, but he was talking about the Jets and saying how Hackett could he thinks Wilson has talent and they could build around him and he could do something. So he wasn't really talking about a trade, but I don't know. What do I think about all this? I don't know. I'll have to touch on that here. Another news item. Matt LaFleur's brother, becomes the Rams offensive coordinator. And also another little bit of news here, a little bit more recent. There's been so much stuff coming out, but it's been reported Adam Schefter's been pretty active from ESPN on Rodgers, and he says the Packers likely prefer to move on from Rodgers. So it seems like a trade is becoming more and more likely. I'm not sure it's going to happen, though. There's a lot of factors, Rodgers' salary. Does a team want to invest that much in him just to get him for 1 year? The Jets could be desperate enough, as King says. 2 first-round picks. I'm very good with that as a Packers fan. Speaking now, that's great with me. And they could be desperate enough to just try to get to the Super Bowl, get him for 1 year even, if it's only that much. And just see what they can do, because they do have the pieces to contend. They just need a quarterback at this point. So I could probably see that happening. Everything's kind of groundwork's laid. Rodgers understands that this is a possibility. If the Packers can get something in a trade to help build around Love, I would like that. I am excited to see what Love can do, and the Packers might want to see what they have in Love. And I think at this point it's almost kind of, it's going to be Love or Rodgers. Before I was kind of just saying, yeah, it's Love or Rodgers next season. We'll see what he does. Obviously, all this trade stuff is conjecture, as Rodgers said. He says he's done nothing in the off season, and it's all conjecture because he still has not done nothing deciding whether he's going to retire or even come back to play football next year. But the fact that he's talking about it, it seems like maybe he will come back. But I guess who knows. But I was thinking Love or Rodgers. Love is gonna want to trade. He knows he's ready. He's not gonna want to sit on the bench for fourth year yet behind Rodgers. If Rodgers is gone, it's Love. But if Rodgers comes back, they're gonna have. I do realize though, Love has no leverage. But if you're gonna really be a good organization, if you don't want to make people mad at you, you gotta trade Love. I mean, you can't be doing him dirty. He's been just learning behind Rodgers. He's been patient, and he knows he's ready. The Packers have been saying he's ready. Tom Clements really helped him out, I think, and Rodgers' old QB coach came back to be QB coach again, and I think he's ready. I think he'll experience some ups and downs, but I think he just needs to flash. He's never played a whole season, so I don't think the Packers will be going to the Super Bowl next year if they're just with Love, but you never know. And I would just like to see Love, see how that opens up the offense, if he can use him in more, designed runs, run pass options, stuff like that. It could be pretty interesting having a young guy who can move around. It's more exciting, and if he just flashes a little bit, if you can just see that he's improving and he's not playing like Zach Wilson. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was not that good his first season in Jacksonville. Tua Tagovailoa, even Jalen Hurts, you didn't know what they have in them, but they flashed. That was the important thing. And you could tell they had the talent that you're looking for, and you just developed them. And once you get that playing experience, that's what you end up being. And Lawrence and Tagovailoa, without those concussions, they're great quarterbacks now. And we all know about Hurts this year going to the Super Bowl. So it should be interesting to see what happens. I'll be watching, and we'll see. Maybe we'll eventually talk some trade destinations for Rodgers. Just more hypothetical situations like that. But for now, we are out of time. And so thank you for listening. Follow the show so you don't miss out on anything. You can tap the bell, at least if you're on Spotify. We are on Google Podcasts and iHeartRadio. So you can check us out there if that's where you listen to podcasts. And that should be it. Send in a voice message, participate in the polls. And I'd love to get some comments from y'all. And stay tuned for next Tuesday. And I'll talk to you later.